Oh, by the way, I put up more brushes. If you guys saw that under today's announcement, not what's going to be today's announcement for the next class. Okay. Did you guys see that?
Not yet.
Okay. So I put up my group. I don't know if they're called Groot or Grunt brushes. I put those up. I gave you guys my smudge brushes before. And then I gave you guys the brushes I used last time, which were those rusty nib brushes. And then I'll probably give you one more set. Does that make sense?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
What'd you think?
It was pretty easy, really fun actually to grab certain selections off of things and then drag them off into their own little area and turn them into brushes.
Now, did you get them too where they were following your hand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. That's the main thing. Oh, this is good. This smoke one. See, this is exactly what I like. So you just made all these just out of like different things?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect.
The smoke one, I ended up using the brush mixer to end up making. So it's actually two different brushes put together.
Right on. And then you could see here, this would be a great, these two would be a great ground texture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Perfect. Where's Chris?
Here.
These feel more like stamp brushes to me.
Oh yeah, the scatters.
Well, like this one right here feels like a stamp brush, and this feels kind of like a stamp brush. Are these reactive? They don't feel reactive to me.
No.
Okay, so what did you run into problems with that?
Not really.
But if they're not reactive, then did you not know how to do that part?
My pen sensitivity wasn't working on Photoshop for some reason.
Okay,
so,
okay, go ahead.
So I couldn't like do much with them because they wouldn't like fading out at the end. You know?
That's a good point too. If you're doing this with a mouse, I don't think it's going to follow. It's got to be a pen.
Yeah, I was using my pen. It just the sensitivity on Photoshop wasn't like working at all, but it was working on my other programs that I use.
Okay, but do you understand how to make this a reactive brush?
Yeah.
Okay, you do. So you know how to make it follow your hand and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the only way you're going to do that thing that we've been talking, if you're doing wrapping fur or texture, or, I could wrap texture around a bark or around a tree and that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, these don't feel reactive at all to me. Who's this? Cindy.
Hi. I don't know if I was using the wrong brushes. I don't know.
Well, you're making your own brush, right?
Yeah, but I thought we were supposed to use like your brushes to kind of try them out.
No, that's a different thing. I want you to make your own brushes.
Okay.
Reactive brushes, right? Like we did in class last week. The other brushes I'm giving you, because we're starting to move forward into this talk about brushes, and I want you to have a lot of options with brushes. I want you to set those up. I want you to load them. I want you to organize them in your brushes so you just know how to do all that. But this is creating your own reactive brushes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So do you remember how to do that?
Yeah, I have the brushes in my Photoshop.
You have which brushes?
I made a couple of my own, but
But what I'm asking is, do you know how to adjust them, make them reactive, make them follow direction, all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Okay, you do know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I'm not seeing it here. Right?
Yeah.
So give me some, see, like this is from the ones I gave you right here. This one here, right?
Yeah, no, I misunderstood the assignment.
Okay.
So
let's on Wednesday, give me some reactive ones. Yeah?
Okay.
And I'll give you credit for these because you tried to do it, so that's fine. Hang on. I want to make sure you know how to do it. It's important. What's your major?
I'm not exactly sure yet. I was doing makeup up until last year in like special effects, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, so right now I'm not sure.
You might want to, I mean, I don't know. Are you interested in like entertainment stuff?
So I went to school for special effects makeup, but
Okay.
after like all of the COVID stuff happened, I just decided to go back to finish college.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. Let's figure out what you want to do. Yeah. Where's Irene?
Hello.
Hi. Okay. What do you think?
It's good. They were fun.
Did you get them to go directional?
Yeah.
And then you know how to kind of blow them out and blow out the, whatever you call it, the width between them and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. It's a nice little tool to know, right?
It is. Yeah. And it was interesting to look at the other brushes and then kind of compare what you did to what they did to see if you can, kind of get inspiration from the brushes that are more popular.
Yeah. And what's good about this, though, is that you're not, and okay, so I mean, there's different ways that people work, obviously. And like Paul is saying, the guy we were looking at, I posted his video, right? I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's working, he knows both. I actually found Paul is saying, because I think he used to have a blog, and he had a lot of his oil paintings on. I thought his oil paintings were really cool, but he actually works in the entertainment industry or whatever. But so he's got both of those pieces of knowledge where he's, really maximizing the digital environment, but he's a really good painter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, he's a really good example of that. What he's bringing to the table isn't just a bunch of Photoshop jock stuff, right?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you if someone who's like brand new at painting wants to learn how to paint, do you recommend like a course or anything?
That would be my Friday class.
Okay.
The Friday class is a mechanics class in paint. That's it.
Okay.
So what they're, and it's really interesting because, I have it right now, and it always does. It doesn't always, but like it'll dwindle down because people are like, it's too hard or whatever. And we take a long time on the first project. Like we haven't even started painting on the first project. They're starting this week. And part of that is because it's really interesting when you go, okay, we go through watercolor, acrylic, gouache, and then mixed media, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for every other project after the first one, I'll just let them find a drawing or I'll give them a drawing or whatever, because I don't want to spend a bunch of time on the drawing, right? Because it's just about paint handling. But the first project, I have them go through the process of doing their own drawing. And the reason for that is almost all of them don't know how to do a finished drawing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been taking weeks for them to get a finished drawing. And it's part of the reason I do that is to get them to understand. Like I got a couple that were coming out of the digital environment and they're really realizing, like, because I told them, I go, look, this is a really stark way of finding out where your fundamental skill set actually is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of them in there thinks they're a pretty hot stuff entertainment person, and they're like, holy crap, man, I don't even know how to do a finished drawing. You know what I mean? It's like, right. You don't. And this is the only way that I know of. I mean, I want to show them watercolor and all that anyway, and have them touch traditional media, because in illustration, after that, we just they can do whatever they want. It could be digital or whatever. But I want them to get a sense of like, here's where your skill set actually is once I take away all these little digital toys that you play with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my point is, it's not to be mean about it or anything, but I really think you need to know that. You need to know that like this stuff can just create a bunch of eye candy, and it's sort of obscuring where you actually are in your skill set. And then if you go out in the real world and you're sitting in a meeting and people are throwing down sketches and ideations and things like that, you're going to fall apart. You're going to get fired. You know what I mean? If you manage to get in the door in the first place, which you probably wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're an art director and you know what you're doing, you're going to see that this person doesn't really have. You know what the tricks they're using. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay. Good. What other class do you have this term?
I have visual storytelling with Marshall and
Okay.
animal drawing with Joe Weatherly.
Okay, that's good.
And then I have Maya with Frank.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
How's that going?
It's interesting, kind of struggling with the new program, but it's fun.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure if I went in that class, I'd struggle pretty hard.
You know, he makes it pretty easy though, and then you have the video to go slowly. So I think you'd be fine if you wanted to try it.
No, but I'm just saying that's a really heavy duty skill set.
Yeah, the 3D stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like it's not one thing. Like when you talk, like you can talk to Frank about it, and you go, "Oh, we're going in Maya and we're doing this, and we're taking it into render this, that, and the other, and then we're going over here to texture it and wrap this and do that." And there's all these things are different softwares and different thinking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then printing a 3D model is not just hitting print; it's really involved. You know,
it is. Yeah.
Which is really good because if you attain that skill set, it's valuable, and it's not easy for people to do.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Well, it isn't. You know, I mean, I've worked in the industry forever, and it's like I never learned that stuff. And by the way, if I walked back out of here and went back into it, I'd probably be pretty hamstrung. I'd probably have to scramble and learn that skill set. It's pretty hard not to have it anymore.
Yeah, that's very true. And it does help with like traditional stuff if you need like
absolutely
a model.
Everything overlaps with each other, you know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I just think everything springs forth from like if I was going to really get into 3D modeling, I already know how to sculpt, but like I would get into some clay sculpting and things like that. So I really had a handle on real world tools and just fundamentals, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can take that because if you don't know anything about sculpting, I guess Maya is going to help you a little bit because it'll give you sort of models to start with or whatever. But I mean, if you're going to go in and create something from scratch, you still got to know how to sculpt. It's not really any different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd like to learn Maya. I think it'd be interesting.
You should.
I don't have any time.
Frank and I will help you.
You know what it is? It's like, I want to just work on my own projects right now.
Yeah.
I want to generate my own stuff right now. I want to pitch my own projects. And by the way, what's digital storytelling?
Visual storytelling. We write like premises and stories, and then we start drawing on them. So it's kind of like children's book, but not really.
Okay. So it's not defined.
It's very open. Yeah.
Okay. Who's this? This is Jan. Where are you at?
Good morning.
What do you think?
I ran into the same problem with like Chris did. I wasn't really able to get like those like thinner strokes throughout because I wasn't using the mouse pad or like a pen. And then also
wait, you're using a stylus? Wait, were you using a stylus or a mouse pad or a mouse?
I was using a mouse.
Okay, they won't be very reactive.
Yeah, it was kind of right, exactly. So I did play around with like the whole scatter and like directional, all that stuff.
So you did understand it, right?
Yeah, I understand it for the most part. And
this one right here is cool. This brush right here.
That actually, so I was just playing around with it.
Is that with the smudge?
I ended up with a smudge, and I chose that brush with the smudge.
Okay, good.
Sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I want you playing with all this stuff, so that's fine. I just want to make sure you're understanding how to make those brushes follow your hand and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to say, I think my connection's really bad. I had to like leave and come back in like 3 times so far. So if you see that, I mean, I'm here, but I'm just trying to get.
Who is it? It's Jen. Okay.
Jen Chen. Yeah.
Okay. Let me make a screen grab right now so I know you're on my list.
So you said that was a smudge. It ended up as a smudge brush.
I made the brush, like you'll see like on top. So I like kind of just like made like a scribbles, and then I went on the smudge, and then I chose that specific brush that I created as a smudge tool, and then smudged it out that way.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering. I really like that one.
Yeah, it looks very furry, like a heavy fur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of also partly what I want you guys to think about when you're making these things is how kind of abstract a lot of this stuff is. And I'm trying to get everybody to start thinking a little bit like that. Like when you look at something like that and you go, that's, these marks you're putting down when you, in regards to like digital painting or any of that kind of stuff, they're very abstract marks that all combine together to make a representational image, correct?
Yeah.
So you got to start thinking about that, I think, just in general, especially if you're going to do painting or digital painting or any of that kind of stuff.
I had a question. So in last class, when as you were drawing, it was kind of going in that same, like it'll go with the direction of your hand.
That's what I want to make sure you know how to do.
Right. Can you just go over that like real quick? I just wanted to make sure I had that part down.
Yeah. So if we go, so I just made a brush for today. Hang on. And I'll do a different one. So I'll just do the same thing I did last time, because usually you can see this pretty well. I want you guys to see how I have my brushes set up here. My favorite brushes, my general brushes, and my smudge brushes, and then, you know, my brush sets. Make sure that you're setting them up. And for some reason, as far as I know, when you put I think they're called group brushes. When you put those in, I'm going to give you one more set too. When you put those in there, I think they go in one at a time, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but just make a folder and just start dropping them in the folder. And then once you load them, you're kind of done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So like, it's weird. For some reason, those brushes, and I haven't been able to find a way to pull them all in at once. They'll come in each brush individually in a folder. So I'd have to take them out of the folder and put another folder. But I mean, it's worth it. And then those kind of brushes, I just keep them in that folder. And I just keep them there. Like, I'm not going to use all those brushes. There's a lot of them in there. And then the ones that become really crucial, I'll throw them into my favorites. And then they just live in there. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So like this favorite drawing brush right here that I use all the time, I found it on one of the computers at school. But if you look at the silhouette of it up here, it's a feather. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, and they probably played with it a little bit, and it gets a nice thin, thick line thing, really, which is what I like about it, because it's more like a real pencil. So let's just put one feather or one fur. Edit, define brush preset. And let's go for, oops. And here's another thing I want to make sure we get, because I don't know if I went over this enough. I'm going to call it fur one. I'm going to delete it. Boom. And then we have that. Okay. Yeah?
Yes.
Now I'm going to come over here to brushes. Let's go to the wrong one. There it is. And now we're here. Make sure I pull this over enough so you guys can see it in the video. And first thing I can play around with is the tip shape. So all that stuff you understand, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I can also play here with spacing.
Right.
So now it's spacing that brush out, which is what I want to kind of do with it. Now I'm going to go here. So it's doing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I go to this second one right here, right in the middle where it says control, I can go direction.
Right. Okay. That's what I missed. Okay.
Right. And then now see how it's following my hand now?
Yes.
You know, that's what Paul is saying is doing, that kind of thing. And then I can come in here or to shape dynamics, and I can go, I want to jitter it up a little so it's not so uniform.
Mm.
You know, if that's what I want. You know, and then and I can jitter up the angle a little bit so it's not that uniform. Just, you know, if I was doing some ground cover or something, I might jitter it up a lot. Angle jitters, I can do that. That just rounds it off a little bit. So that might be a nice little start to be a nice little, and then I like to do, let's get rid of all this. I like to do, it's not this one, it's transfer. I never hardly ever use texture. Transfer. And transfer fades off both of the ends, which I like.
Now, does this reset after you've used it? And let's
yeah, so here's what's going to happen. Look, I'm glad you said that because I was already forgetting it. Right here, here's the brush. See how it looks like how I put it in initially?
Yes.
So now what I have to do, now it's going to save that brush, that one, okay? But if I go in and make all these changes on this, and I want to save those, I have to go, where is it? New brush preset, and it's already named Fur 1. And I'm just going to get rid of this number because I don't care about that. And then what I do, and then I go, okay. And then if I go back to my view of my brushes, there's the reactive one. You see it?
Yes. Okay.
And I'm just going to go to this one and right click it. Or, yeah, right click it and just delete it because I don't need that anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
So,
Got it.
What did I just do? Oh, there it is. And now it saves my brush presets. Okay. So the initial one, it saved the brush. But once I go and tweak all the presets, then I want to save those presets. And I usually just get rid of the original one.
Awesome. Thank you.
Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Can you explain to me what a brush pose is? I was like playing with it, but I didn't see a difference. I didn't
brush
see
pose
or poise or
is that one of the brush? Is that one of the presets in here?
Settings, yeah.
Is it a preset in the brush settings?
Yeah, it's in the settings.
Okay, there's going to be certain settings that you'll notice don't do anything.
Okay.
It's more than likely because there's certain things that you can build in the brush, and then those things will activate and they'll tweak things.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So there's certain things that you'll use in there, and you'll go, "Why isn't it doing anything?" Because it needs a certain set of things to happen before it does anything.
Got it.
And
okay.
I'll try and go over that a little bit more, some of those things a little bit later. Like you can build in, and we'll talk about this later. You can build in like color things. You can build in the gradient into the brush. You can build in all these very specific things in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to jump into that too much yet. I want to just stay here because this is the most important part of it. And then I'll circle back around to it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And you can do color variations in there. So you can make a brush that's like, let's say you're working on, again, a landscape or I don't know, an alien landscape or something. And you go, I want this really interesting texture on the surface of this planet. And then you go make a brush. And then you might want the colors to shift between like bluish to warmish to this. And it'll start doing all that stuff for you.
Okay. That sounds
And
good.
again, these things are really great time-saving tools, really great work flow tools for work. Don't just get hung up on this. Go take a painting class, make sure you're taking drawing, all that stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff doesn't mean crap unless you know that.
Right.
These are just the tools that the industry happens to use nowadays, right? And not everybody, but I mean, entertainment design, commercial work, a lot of commercial work, a lot of commercial illustration. There's still illustrators that work traditionally, but if somebody called me right now and goes, why don't you do a book cover and, make it look like oil or whatever, I'd probably just do it digital just because I wouldn't want to hassle having to scan it and color correct it, make all my corrections in traditional oil, and I can make it look pretty much like oil in here, right? It's not going to look exactly, but it's going to look pretty damn good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Professor, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Could you please show me how to add color? I know it's a little bit easier, but
do what?
To add color to the brushes to use.
Well, if you're going to add, if you're going to use this brush and add color, all you got to do is this. Pick a color.
There you go. Thank you.
So it's just like any other brush. You just add color.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
It's a good question, though, actually. But I want to get into later on. I want to get into building more complex things into these brushes. It really gives you an advantage in workflow. Oh, I was going to show you this real quick. So this guy, he works all digital now. He came out of traditional, but he works all digital now.
Mike, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you draw something and you want to make it look painterly or like oil, do you put down a base color first and then go in with like shading to make it look like that? Or do you just start off with the oil brush or the other
Okay,
brushes?
so when I paint traditionally, I tend to paint on a brilliant orange tone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So a lot of times when I start painting digitally, I'll just do the same thing.
Okay.
So what I'm doing there, well, here, I'll give you a couple examples of it. This is somebody who uses this as a sort of stylistic tool, but is also sort of doing what I do. Hang on. Also a monster painter. Boy, did I misspell that. Hang on.
It's okay. You're an artist, not an English
I
major.
hate it when people lean on that. Like when I'm crappy at math, they go, well, you're an artist. It's like, I know plenty of artists are good at math. Okay. You see these little hits of orange under there?
Yeah.
So that's the orange ground. Now, really the reason you do that, and I'm not going to go too down the rabbit hole in this, but the reason you do that is when you pop in that, and she uses it a little heavier because it's a stylistic thing with her. But it does a cup like here, it's kind of a nicer example. But when you got that little bit of warmth under there, it vibrates against, and it just feels good to have that warmth popping through here and there. I tend to manage it a little more, where I'll let a little bit of the sky, that little tiny bit of that pop through there, and it'll give the sky a little bit of depth. So a lot of times I tend to go into a digital painting sort of the same way. Okay. And the other thing it does is it gets rid of the white of the board. Anywhere that I don't hit it with a brush mark, it's going to have a little pop of warmth, which is fine. And if I didn't hit it with that orange, then wherever I didn't hit it exactly, there's going to be white on there, which isn't I don't like that. It feels unfinished. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then down in the ground, I might put the washes down a little thinner. So a little bit of that warmth pops through to kind of warm up the dirt and things like that. I'm just, it's imprimatur, I think they call it. And it's locking down some people do it with a neutral. I used to do it with burnt sienna, and it was just a neutral. And a lot of it's just to kill the value of the white. And it's also just, again, it just starts locking the whole thing together. It gives me a value that locks everything together, right? And then if you look at it digitally, here's a digital version. Let's see if I can find it.
Okay. But these are not digital painting, right? These are not digital, whatever, the sample for Jennifer McChrystal.
That was traditional oil.
It's traditional, not digital, right?
This guy I'm going to show you right now is not traditional. He came from traditional, which really shows in his work, but let's see if I can find it. And he does the same thing. He just approaches his thing. Yeah, here we go. Let's see if this can get bigger. Hang on. I need a bigger version. Why can I not find this? Hang on.
I have a quick question for Jen. I'm sorry. I'm practicing the one that you made into a smudge brush. You make it into a smudge brush like with a dual brush, or how did you create like a regular brush into a smudge brush?
So like you just make the brush like we did earlier, and then you just select the smudge tool, and then up top, just like you would choose your brushes, you'll choose the same, how do I explain this? You want to take over, I think you understand the question, right?
Here's what it is.
Mike.
She made a brush. She didn't make a smudge brush. She made a brush that she sort of took her part way there. Then she went and got a smudge brush and smudged it out and reworked it.
Oh, okay. I get it.
So, and what I like about that is you do need to learn how to work in combination with these things.
Right. And then you can recreate that as a brush.
You could take that shape and then make a brush out of that shape. Sure.
Yeah. Like if you just wanted to make it a brush.
Yeah. I would probably just try and dial in the, I mean, if I was going to make a fur brush or whatever, but I'm always going to probably go in and tweak it after the fact anyway. So I don't do stuff just like Jen just said, where I'm going to go in and smudge it a little bit and fool around with it.
Okay.
It's one of the things I see. Okay, so look at this painting. Hang on.
Thank you.
Okay, so it looks like an oil painting, right? And of course, this isn't the whole thing. Let's go here. There it is. Okay, but here's this technique. He's toned the board just like the digital board. Just like I was just talking about, only he's using this sort of neutrally ochre-y thing, right? Mm-hmm. Throws down. This is exactly how you tone the board with a bunch of paint and stuff. Then he goes in, he just starts painting like an oil painter. Blocks it in. See him blocking out the hands. And then he starts going in here and just working the face. You can see the canvas texture under there a little bit. And then he finishes it out.
It's amazing. That looks so like real.
Like
yeah.
He takes this like really far, this kind of stuff. It's not really my style thing, but I think he's great at it.
Oh, wow.
There's something weird about pushing all the features that far and then keeping it hyper realistic.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, this works better to me.
Yeah,
like a little more caricature. This is cool. But the other thing I like about him, then it's a straight portrait. These are all digital.
He's amazing. That's really good skills.
God, that looks just like this guy, that's weird. Anyway. So he's done 2 Time magazine covers, Time Person of the Year covers. That's a big deal. One of them was Pope Francis, and then he just did the latest one, which was Biden and Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and it'd be so hard to do these on the time frames these people have. Although everybody did it before, but everybody was killing. And by the way, it's weird when you listen to this guy talk. He almost seems guilty about not using traditional paint now, which I think is really stupid. So he just did this one. Right? Yeah?
Wow.
That's a big deal, man, to get the time cover. It's still a big deal. But but he was talking about, how he switched, because he used to do all this in oil and acrylic, actually acrylic, because it was faster. And acrylic, some people really hate acrylic, and he hated it. And he goes, I was killing myself making these deadlines traditionally, and it's like, why do that? You know what I mean? Why kill yourself doing it? Because they're giving you these insane, whenever you're working for like a timely magazine or a timely news thing, and he operates a lot in that world of kind of political stuff, their deadlines are super fast, especially now it's even crazier. Their deadlines are crazy because that topic's only going to be hot for like a couple of days or a day. Does that make sense?
Crazy.
So then they're like, well, we need it by tomorrow, and then, sometimes he's got to knock out something that finished in like a day, or I think he did that Biden cover in like a day and a half or 2 days, like some crazy time frame.
So basically,
and then they don't tell you a lot of stuff. Go ahead.
I said, so basically no sleep.
Yeah. But that part, I think, is pretty much common in just any design field. And I did a lot of 2 days straight or whatever, but it's not like I was doing it every day. I would just do it when I needed to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, there's that. Did I already get these? Okay, where's Jessica at?
Hello.
Okay, so you made all these?
Yes.
Right on. And you got the directional thing and everything down?
Yeah. I really needed that with like some of the more like Afro like hair. And
great, man.
Thanks. Yeah, I one of the most brutal things for me, I don't know why, I just hate doing hair in traditional media. So this was great. I was like,
good, because you're pulling it off. Like, this is really good right here. It almost, are these chronological?
Yeah, so they're by texture. That's why there's a brush for each one. So there's kind of like a spectrum from like straight hair all the way down. It's called like, they all have like a number, but I 2A for straight hair or whatever. Everyone knows what straight hair is.
But you just gave it your numbers yourself just to categorize?
Those are the actual numbers. So like that's how like natural hair, like the curliest hair is called 4C. That's what the texture is called.
What's that coming out of? What's that language coming out of?
I think people aren't super familiar with it because it's more among like natural, like like Black women's hair, you know?
But is that coming out of like a cultural description, or is that coming out of like cosmetology? What's that coming out of?
I don't know where it comes from. It might be cultural. I'm not really sure.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I love that you categorize. Man, that's great, man. That is really good. And then I love this up here too.
Yeah, I wanted to play with like almost like watercolor. Like, yeah.
What's your major?
Illustration.
Ah, what do you want to do?
I mean, I kind of like your ideas on everything where you can kind of just like, if someone calls you, you can do the job sort of thing. But so far what I usually do, I really like doing portrait art. And then I've been kind of looking into like conceptual art. So that's just kind of where I am right now. I'm just trying to like push all of my skills, I guess.
Yeah. Because then that's what's going to, a good fundamental base of skill sets is what's going to allow you to then enter what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm beating everybody over the head with design right now, because that's what I'm seeing lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably said certain times, but I'm always looking at the program going, what, I start seeing things and I'm not knocking anybody else's class or anything, but I just see it overall where I go, wow, and nobody's even thinking about design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this in my Saturday class. So Saturday I took because somebody actually asked me about this, and I go, people are not designing right now, especially in entertainment design. They're not designing, they're grafting. So if I ask them in my Saturday class to make a believable zoological animal, and then we go to the zoo and we draw and all that, then they come back and they put a zebra head on an elephant's body with hippopotamus legs. And it's like, that really? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not design.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then we went down that path, and I just kind of quickly designed a little animal or whatever. And then we did the same thing with technology and start talking about, you have to go to the headwaters things. You have to have a good design skill set. You have to think through all these things. You can't, what's happening, especially with entertainment design, and I'm only saying this because I want people to watch out for this, is they don't realize that, like, you want to do entertainment design, you want to do illustration, it's not about looking at entertainment design and illustration endlessly. It's about going, I have to get my fundamental draftsmanship down, my fundamental design down, my fundamental color sense down. And, what they're doing is they're going, oh, I'm going to design in this class because I saw this online. We designed this thing in class. It was some kind of vehicle thing. And I looked at it, and it was laughably bad. Okay. By a student who's been studying for too long to me to be doing that. And I kind of blame the teacher for whoever it was. I don't know who it was, but it's like, was this acceptable in your class, this solution? Because it's horrible. They didn't think about the design at all. All they're doing is going and looking at some concept artist and going, I like that. And they're copying that surface information there, but not understanding at all how that person got there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That person didn't get there because they were copying some other designer. That person got there, like in some cases where, well, that person's a trans designer and they know how to draw or design transportation things, and whether it's a plane or a car or whatever, or an industrial designer. So you have this very heavy duty knowledge of real world design, and then taking that into entertainment design and going, okay, if I'm designing the Batmobile, I'm going to make it look believable. You know what I mean? Not like the one in the 60s TV show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And this one of the 60s TV show, wasn't designed to be realistic. That whole show was a kind of a parody of that kind of thing. I get it, right? But then you see the ones where this stuff just looks so believable, and that's usually an industrial designer, or it's just a really good designer who thinks real world and understands how to design those things and thinks through all the solutions and problems. And it's like, everybody's got to start getting that into their thinking, design thinking, right?
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that partly too is that's what this feels like. I mean, I like the way you organized it and you assign these numbers to it that I didn't even know about, but it's just cool that you're like categorizing and organizing and really thinking it through. You know what I mean?
That's very organized. How did you make it into the rectangle square? Like, how did you keep it into?
Oh, okay. I painted over the entire image in one layer, and I just minimized it. That's all I did.
You could also do this, you guys. Hang on. If you wanted to do that, here's my brush. So let's grab this one again.
were you working with a little pen or a mouse?
Yeah, I have a pen. I have a stylus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
By the way, again, if you don't have you don't have to go get a Cintiq. You can go get an Intuos, and you can usually get them at like Best Buy. Last time I was in there, they had one for $79 and one for $99. Okay, and I know it's not, you know, when you're in school and you're broke and everything, but I mean that's a better alternative than to the least expensive Wacom I know of, which is $800, and then they go up to $5,000. You know what I mean?
Oh,
wow. Hang on, I gotta find this. Here we go. So let's go here. So if I took this, let's put it on a different layer. Just so, yeah, there it is. If I took this and I made a wash, and then I wanted to contain it, hang on, and do a swatch or whatever, then I could just come here with my marquee tool, invert it, clip it out.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought she did. Yeah.
But man, this right here, and what's also interesting, like this right here, like these are not even putting the head in there to give me the information. This reads really good. This reads really good. Really good.
Yeah, like you could imagine the head there already.
Let's go in here. Could block it out real quick. Behind it. Why is that not doing that? That's weird. Hang on. Oh, I know why. I'm going to put this on multiply. And block out this head shape behind it. This is at 80. I don't want it at 80. I want it clean. That's too dark. I'm going to go a little lighter.
For the hair to lay on both sides of the head, did you keep changing the angle of the brush?
So I had mine function on pen tilt, so you could kind of mess with a little more. There were some times where I did have to flip it, but mostly I was able to get away with just the directional function.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sometimes just like in that Paul Hussein video, gosh darn it. He, you know, he has to go in and change the axis and flip it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show you something here in a minute. I'm trying to just see if I can block this in real quick. If you're going to block this in, you could just block in the head shape. Block in the head shape here. I don't know why this is giving me so much trouble. Oh, I'm on smudge, that's why. Block this in behind. I've got it on multiply, so it's going to be a little bit, I'm going to show through a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just start lighting the big areas of the head here. Let's light it over here a little, go a little lighter. But the main thing, I probably start off a little lighter actually like that. The main thing is I'd want to block out this head shape and then go in with a little darker value and put in just the shadow values here. So I'd start blocking in the eye sockets in here, and then the bottom of the nose, and then the top of the lip. And that's how I'd start blocking in the head. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I wouldn't go in. What I'm trying to get everybody to think about now is everybody's sort of going in very linear. You know, it's hard a lot of times. There's a transition between drawing and then going into painting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
In the painting, you kind of want to block in a big shape and then work into the shape. You kind of do with drawing too, but it's linear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is great.
Thank you.
Really, really good. Wow, good. Where are you at? Where's Kayla?
Hi.
Nice. These are all scatter brushes. You understood the directional part of it and all that?
Mm-hmm. I had the most fun with the foliage.
Yeah. So that's another thing that it's great for, right?
Once I figured it out, I was like, oh, these look really cool.
Yeah, we'll talk about some other ways to do foliage with other brushes later on, probably next week. And the directional part of it and everything worked, all that?
I think so. I tried to make scales, like wrapping a form, but I used the direction, but it didn't work as well as I thought it would, I guess. Maybe it's just the shape of the scale I made.
Well, it depends on, you got to set it all up right. But when it was following your hand, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. As long as you got that, and it looks to me like you got it here, then you're good, I think, right?
Okay.
You just want to make sure you get that directional thing and then start learning how to scatter and all that. And it looks like you are here because you're building all these things here. And now it's nice because now we've got somebody who focused on hair and all that. And now, the watercolory looking thing. And now this one, which is another thing I think it's really valuable for, is foliage, right? Good.
So for the directional, you just used it on the angle jitter?
I know. You want to use it here. When you go to your brush, man, I always go to the wrong one. It's so weird. When I go to this, here's shape. Okay, here's my brush tip. That's the first one, right? But when I go to this second one, right here in the middle, I go to direction.
Oh, okay.
And that'll set it where it starts following your hand.
Okay.
These controls are really weird to me. But I mean, once you get the hang of them, it's fine. Okay. Where's Samantha?
That's me.
What do you think?
It was okay. I get the hang of it, but I was just trying to draw the wig. She kind of inspired me on the hair.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it realistically like that, but
so go in and play around with it.
Yeah.
Go in and play around with it this week. And then if you have any trouble with it, I want to circle back to it. So I'll make sure that you get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just my mouse too. Like I was doing it on a laptop, so my hand was cramping and I was like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it's going to be a little harder if you don't have a stylus.
Yeah.
I'm 1,000 years old. I draw every single day and my hands are fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes 6 hours a day, sometimes 12 hours a day.
Wow.
And part of the key to that, by the way, I think, is that if I write, okay, so I can draw a long time, and this is important. I draw all the time, constantly, right? I tend to start all my drawings here, like way back here, right? I'm drawing that. Whenever I'm drawing, my hand is so light and loose, you could just come up and pull the pin out of my hand. Okay. I think that's the reason I don't have problems with my hands, because for some reason, when I write and I write for a little while, I'll get a lot of pain in here. And for some reason, when I write, I start cramping up on clamping up on the pen, and I write a lot more, my hand's a lot more rigid. And then that I start getting that problem in the palm of that, whatever that's called, that little right there, right? So I think the key to that is, and by the way, you're going to draw better if you're holding the tool lighter anyway. Try and draw looser and lighter. Okay. And also, you're not writing. Okay. I don't know why I cramp up like that when I'm writing. I don't know why I clamp down on it like that. I don't know why. But when I'm drawing, I don't do that. I'm really loose and light, and I'm barely holding the pencil and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's why I haven't had hand problems. Right?
Yeah.
Because, 30 years of this, really hardcore 30 years of it. So you want to start taking care of that now. You don't want to have problems with it later, right?
Yeah. I'll probably get a setup if I continue to use Photoshop the way I'm using it in your class.
And like I said, you can step into it because by the way, I think I've said this in here. There's also a brand called XP Pen that competes with Wacom. I've used them. They seem fine to me. I have students that have them. They've had them for a few years. They say they've been fine. And they're way cheaper. Okay. Like you can get a pretty big XP pen. It looks just like a Wacom tablet or screen or whatever. You can get a pretty big one for like $400, $600.
I have one.
You have one?
Yeah, I have the display.
How do you like it?
It's good.
Because I used one, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, this one is like better than Wacom actually, because I had a Wacom before and I had like a bunch of issues with the driver at the time. So I upgraded to XP and it's better for me, honestly.
Yeah, and it's way cheaper. So there's an alternative, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Wacom. I think they're poorly designed. I know that they're the industry standard, so that, you know, as much as we can, we'll use them and stuff. I don't think the XP is different enough for it not to be industry standard, basically. But I don't think the Wacom, somehow Wacom took this over. They must have gotten in front of the technology before anybody else, is my guess, because it's not a great product. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but it's not. Like the little thing is always a little bit off. I can tell that there's depth between the surface and what I'm actually drawing on. It's like, those are to me like amateur moves. Does that make sense?
They always have like, when I had a Wacom and I always Googled like when I had issues with it.
Yeah.
It like, there's so many people asking for help. Like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? And it's like, why does Wacom have so many problems like with their products?
It's poorly designed.
Yeah.
The thing I've always said about Wacom, that's one job where if they called me up and said, hey, could you come in and be a consultant? The first thing I do is go in there. I get a lay of the land on the team, the product design team that's designing the hardware. That's the first place I'd look. And then I'd look in there and go, I'd probably clean house. If I was consulting, I would go, okay, I'm going to go find a really great product designer, industrial designer with a really strong vision and point of view, and start working with them and go, we need to redesign all this hardware because it's clunky and it feels like it was designed in the 70s, which is totally weird to me. And then we're going to go to the software team or whoever's doing that, the engineering team. We're going to figure out why we have all these problems with the actual drawing. And my guess is it feels like they didn't really consult artists when they designed this thing, because there's a lot of stuff in it where I go, no artist would design this, would skip this major design flaw with this thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I have to be nice because Wacom's very nice to us and we have sort of a partnership with them a little bit and everything. And the guy, our rep is great. He gave me all this free gear, which saved my ass. You know, he gave me $5,000 in free gear, which saved my ass for all this stuff I'm doing now. So all that, I think they're great, but it's just the product needs to be better. I don't understand it. And what they don't understand, if Apple, and I don't know why Apple hasn't done this, if Apple ever takes their drawing technology, which is 1,000 times better than this, and puts that into a full-size screen, and I would just call it iMac Creative, and I'd have a simplified version of the Ergotron arm on it. It'd probably start at 5,000, which is what their Pro iMac model started at anyway. And you could pop it off, move it around enough, and have the Apple, the iPad technology in there. They would put this company out of business overnight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd live in fear of that if I worked for Wacom. Okay, Tang, where you at?
Hey, Professor.
Okay, how did you do?
I had a little trouble like with the mouse. It wasn't like really...
Yeah, the mouse is going to make it harder.
Yeah, I think I need to look into like a pad, like you said.
Yeah, if you don't have the money to go to the big one. And by the way, I used a little Intuos this big. I still have one. I think I showed you guys before, right?
I think so, yeah.
I have one that big, right?
Okay. It works?
Oh, it works great. I used it on jobs for years. If I went into, especially a freelance gig, if I was going in-house or whatever, I'd just bring it with me. I'd plug it in, and I'd have, a drawing tablet.
Yeah.
And way back, they go, well, like I went to one place I was working, and they go, well, we have the big Wacoms, or not Wacoms, the big drawing tablet lays on your desk. It's not
yeah.
Right. And I didn't like it. And I go, I don't like this. And I put my little one back. And then there were certain places where, I wouldn't even use the Cintiq. I kept using that. I was just used to it.
Which one are you using right now?
Which what?
Which pad are you using right now?
The one I'm using for this class is called a Wacom 16. It's a 16-inch.
Oh, okay.
Which is big
enough.
What's
the difference? It's just like more.
Well, the difference is the pad that sits on your tabletop, your desktop doesn't. It's not a screen. It's translating what you're doing here to the screen you're looking at.
Oh, right? Okay.
The one that I'm using for the class is the screen, and I'm drawing on the screen like it's a piece of paper.
I see.
Both work fine. I think they both work fine.
Okay.
Obviously, you know, if you're going to go up and start, I mean, I used it for a lot of professional work too. So I don't know, but you know, once I was going to go out in the world and everything, I'd want to know how to use a Cintiq, and eventually I'd probably get one and stuff for doing professional work and all that. But I've used it for professional work, you know, and for like doing a class like this or getting through these types of classes and stuff, it's a good inexpensive alternative, because you don't need to have all that for this class. All I want you to do is just go, oh, when I do that, that's how it follows my hand. That's all I care about, you know. And for this class, it's totally fine. Okay. You can get through this class without it. It's better if you know. And then as soon as you get near a Cintiq or a screen or any kind of pad, if a friend has one, make a brush and then do it. And just so you go, oh, okay, I got it. It works. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do some research about it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Professor.
The Intuos, they usually have it. I got mine at Best Buy.
Okay.
Because I keep it, I have a bag that usually, my laptop right now isn't leaving my office very much because I have so much technology connected to it. Now I'm using my iPad as a laptop, but in my backpack, and I usually always have my laptop with me when we're on campus and stuff, I have that little Intuos pad in there in case I just, you know, I'm sitting there having lunch and I want to tweak some painting or something, you know. So everything's portable. Okay, but you got it though, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Thank you, Professor.
Thanks. Thanks for doing it. I like it when you guys get stuff done and learn this stuff. Okay, so let's look at this. And by the way, who was it that wants to try the hair thing? Who was that?
I think it was Samantha.
Yeah, maybe it was Samantha. Go out and do that, because I want to make sure that if whatever you're trying, I want to make sure that that we're covering it in class, you know, for any questions you have. And maybe it's the person who did the hair that you like so much, maybe they'll answer it.
Yeah, I think I just need more practice with it. Yeah. And then the pen that setup that you keep mentioning, like that's gonna make a huge difference, because honestly the laptop, you just gotta hold it, click it, drag it. It's very
laptop. If you don't have some kind of stylus, I don't think the directional thing even works if you don't have a stylus.
And it works a bit, but it like I said, you have to, like, if you click out of it, you have to redo it. Like you have to keep the click down and then drag it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Really, hang on a sec, you guys. I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee and then I'm gonna talk about this brush thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's start. And I gave you all my brushes. Again, it's not under I already put up the announcement for the class on Wednesday. It's for the one today. Okay. So I put up probably 3 groups of brushes. I'll probably put up my Greg Rakowski brushes. With the Greg Rakowski brush, if you have, I'm sure you can run it on a player or whatever. It's a Windows Media file. He has 2 files in there that he shows from beginning to end how he does a digital painting, and it's just painting. So it's a really good thing to look at along with all his brushes, okay? And they're pretty good brushes. So I'm gonna give you, so he has, I don't know if I can even show it on here. No, you can't. This one right here says Desert Dragon Demo. It's really good stuff to watch because it's just real simple, straight painting, okay? And then he has another one of a ship, which is this painting. And you can see his stuff looks like oil, right?
It's gorgeous.
Now, why am I so big on this whole, hey, this person's stuff looks like oil?
Because it looks really nice.
Because there's an underlying fundamental knowledge of painting in there. Okay. Now, I'm not saying he couldn't go do a big slicker, like Feng Shui kind of thing or whatever. It's fine. But it's an understanding of painting, okay, that you want to have, not all this photo bashy, stiff nonsense that I see all the time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
getting a sketchbook or whatever. There, accidentally loaded them. Okay, so I double clicked them. They imported. Here's my folder. Oops. And there's all these brushes, right? I'll give you those too, because these are really nice, sort of natural, brushy texture things. They're really cool. I'm going to put them right there. I don't need these in the Halloween image anymore, so I'm going to get rid of those. And then, so I've given you these rusty nib ones, these, the group brushes, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah?
Those are my favorites, the blah, blah, blahs.
Yeah. I used to be in a band called the Blah, Blah, Blahs. Do you know that? Oh, here's a spider.
Are they still around?
No. We broke up after our 1976 European tour. A lot of tensions in the band. Yeah? Where did those just go? Hang on. I've been looking for these brushes and they just popped up in here. Hang on. Crap, where are those? Because I can use them for this demo right now. Maybe they're in here. Oh, here they are. Right on. So here's these spatter brushes. I didn't even know these were in. I've been looking everywhere for these. Special effects. So why can't I pull these out and put them there? There they are. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so let's go here. I don't want to work on the background layer. I'm going to work on this layer. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to go. I want to find my, I'm going to put a blue in here. Doesn't matter which blue yet because I'm going to adjust it. And I just filled it. I'm going to darken this. I'm going to go to my levels. I want it really dark, I think. And then I'm going to go up to hue saturation and probably desaturate it a little bit. Maybe go a little darker. That looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to go into another layer. I'm going to grab my marquee tool, my round marquee tool. And I'm going to fill it. Let's just try a couple things. I'm going to fill it with, let's try this pastel. Now, again, it never matters what I start with because I can just fill it with something else. Or I mean, I can just adjust it. It's too light. Actually, I might try this. Hang on. Let's start there. I'm going to leave this selected. Why?
So I could stay in the circle.
Exactly. Now I'm going to go into my brushes and let's just try stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm hopefully going to show you how just abstract this is and how kind of simple it is. I'm going to go to a lighter, let's go to a darker value first. I just want to find a good, I don't know if I like that. Let's try something else. Just looking for a nice textural thing. By the way, you can see the shapes that he created these brushes out of, correct? See that? Mm-hmm. He probably just scanned traditional brushes, I'll bet you. Yeah, I don't like that one. Let's see what this one looks like. No, not quite. So maybe I'm going to go, let's see what this one. I used to have some that I really liked, and I don't remember which ones they were. That's pretty cool. Let's just try that. I'm going to go to a lighter value here. That's too dense. I don't like that. So I'm going to go something less dense. Let's try this one. Still too dense. I'm looking for something much more textural. I'm going to go up here to these. Let's see if I can find some. Now I could go in and just make my own, but I know I have some in here that'll do this, so I'm not going to do that. No, I don't like that. Well, maybe I have one up here, actually. Maybe this one. That's kind of interesting. So what I'm going to start doing here is just knocking in some texture and different values and things. Let me get my pen. Okay, now I'm going to come in here as soon as that takes. Okay, let's come in here. I like this one for this. I like this smudge for this. I use this Impressionistic blender a lot. And I'm going to start to play around with this surface texture so I can start to get me a little planet going here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
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 You can see I don't have to do a whole lot of anything for it to start to work a little bit. Now, another thing I'm going to do, see how you can starting to get that planety kind of thing? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just going to go, because I'm just playing here. I'm going to go, let's go to our dodge tool and just see what that does. I've got it on shadows for now. I want to put the exposure up a lot higher. I kind of like that. It sort of lightens up certain areas. And then I'm going to come in here and go the opposite with my burn tool and see what that does. And I've got it on a texture. So let's see what that does. It's going to darken this side. So now I'm starting to go, well, maybe I can put, and then can I introduce another color in here? I might go in here and go, this is starting to feel like a little bit of a mountain range right in there. So maybe that's getting a little darker in there. So I'm going to go back to my burn. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to start creating these little different surface. I'm going to put this all the way up to 100. I'm in highlight, so I probably want to go to shadows. Yeah, that's too dark. So now I'm going to go pull up my exposure, pull it down. Now I get a little bit of dark land masses or whatever in there. I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to soften those up. I'm going to pull that in a little bit. I like these little textural edges out here, but I'm going to manage them with my smudge. So I want some of that textural stuff, and then I want some of it to go away. Now, I'm going to make a new layer because I'm going to see if I can introduce some color variation. So I'm going to go, I'm just going to pick some color and see what I can do. Let's see if I just do the same thing now. No, I want that. Oh yeah, I do want that. Okay, so let's now go in here and go. Oops, I don't want that. I want this. I'm going to try a couple different things here. Now I'm going to do my usual, just run a pass at my overlays and see if anything cool happens. If it doesn't, that's fine. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Okay, I like that. Do you see that?
Yeah, looks neat.
Yes, that's great.
I'm going to go back in and go, I'm going to manage that a little bit. Now I'm going to do something else. I'm going to put another layer here. And I'm going to go, let's just try for the hell of it. Let's just try a blue here. And I'm just going to get my overlay, or what do you call it? Transparent to nothing gradient. And again, I'm going to go, can I just overlay that in some way that's interesting? See, now it's starting to give it a little bit of depth. Can you see that? Like that?
Mm-hmm.
Or I might, ooh, that's kind of cool. So that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to knock it down a little bit. Now I'm going to go grab me an image, and I'll keep playing with this, but I'm going to go, I want to start getting something around it. So then I'll go here, and I'll go grab me a picture of a nebula. So I'm looking at, this is a good one right here. This will get me a starting point for color. So let's put this in here. Come on, let's do a couple things. Let's go, I'm gonna save this over here. Oops. I'm gonna open it in Photoshop. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this window off and put it on my other screen. I'm just gonna sample colors off of it. And I'm also gonna save this file, hang on. Otherwise I'm gonna lose it. Okay, so I'm just gonna go, I want some of this, the first thing I wanna do in the background is fill up some of this dusty nebula stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if I can get lucky and sample something here. Now, again, I want you to see how kind of abstractly I'm working. So actually, I want this over here. Hang on. I like to put one on one screen and the other on the other. I don't know why this is here. Hang on. I don't want that. Okay. And I don't need this right now. Okay. Or this. I hate it when it gives you this visual thing. It makes no sense to me. Okay. So now I'm just going to take a, let's just take any, probably any old brush. It doesn't matter. Let's see what this does. Oh no, I don't want to smudge. Let's see what this does. Oh, hang on. New layer. Oh, I'm still on smudge. Let's grab this. That's probably okay. Now, I don't care about what kind of brush I'm using in this case. Wait a minute. This needs to be behind my planet. Now I just want to get some stuff filling up this stuff. And I'm going to switch to a different smudge here. I'm going to switch to this Just Add Water one, which really softens everything up, which is here. Now, the bigger you go with these smudges, they get really slow. You see that? So it's going to take a second. I could also maybe, let's see. Let's see if we can do this. I like to control everything, but this might work. Hang on. Did it stop yet? Still thinking. Give it a minute. When the smudge brushes are smaller, they don't usually take as long. Okay, it's done. I'm going to try something here and just see if this works. I don't think I've ever done it this way. That's probably not too bad because I'm going to work over it. I'm going to just keep working over it. So let's go back. And I'm going to go to some brush that helps us a little bit. Let's see. Let's go. Let's go. And then let's do this. I'm going to come up here and sample another color from here because there's also like warmish stuff in here. I just want to get a wash back here is really what I'm trying to do. Then I'm probably going to go on another layer. Probably a little more targeted. And these I'm going to start to manage myself. See how I want to get layers going on here of different types of mark making? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I don't want, see, I like that little mark right there. That's starting to get me excited about it. Now hang on. I'm going to come in here and grab some of this. I'm going to do one more thing. See, I'm starting to like those edges. Those are making sense to me. Now you see how we're starting to get our nebula going?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now I want to keep some of these leading edge lights that I'm seeing in my nebula reference, like that, this stuff in here. I don't want everything to get soft. A lot of it's soft, but I want some nice hard edges in there. And then also there's these washes of color. I'm going to put in another one here. Let me see if I can find another little shift in color in here. It's mostly these colors that I'm using. Oh, here's a little bit of, let's try this. I'm going to really smudge this out. Make sure I'm on the right layer. Yeah. Then I think I'll come in here, maybe do a little more down here. Oh, there's more of that down here. And I'm going to shape this out just a little bit. Leave a little bit of that hard edges in there. And I'm going to come in here. I want to grab a hot edge here. Hang on. I'm just going to pull out part of this. So we're starting to get these nice little edge lights on that mass.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm into. Okay, so let's grab this red again. Go a little hotter. Not hot enough. Yeah, that's cool right there. So it's starting to get a little cloudier.
Yeah, it looks good.
So I'm kind of thinking just like clouds, basically. Like some parts of it are catching edge light. Hang on. Okay, now I'm gonna go back in here. And what I'm basically doing is I'm softening the back edge of these and leaving the leading edge of it a little lit. So it's starting to get a little bit of a cloudy kind of nebula kind of thing. I can do the same thing up here a little bit. These got some really hot oranges I'm trying to find. Here we go. I'm gonna orange it up a little more. And the reason I want to show you this kind of thing, because I've seen a lot of things where they kind of use Photoshop jock tricks to do this. And I just don't think there's much of a knowledge behind that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just sort of like, do this, do this, do this. And hey, it kind of looks like a thing. It's like, well, I want to make my own nebula or my own planetary system. I don't really just want to use your technique and then that's how it does it. Because this you can vary any way you want. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is just painting, basically. It's the same way I do it with anything, acrylic or oil or anything, more or less. Okay, so now let's go. That's enough for now. That's all making sense, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to put a little more crap down here because it feels empty. And I'm just starting to get some nice general sort of painterly marks. Now we're getting that. Now I'm going to go in here. I actually made a spatter brush yesterday, but now I just found my old spatter brushes. So I'm going to try that. So let's go to here. Here. Let's see how these work. Let's look at this one. I'm going to go to a pretty hot blue here. There's a trick with this, so you'll see it in a minute here. Yeah, that's nice. See that?
Mm-hmm.
So now let's go really big and vary it. Yeah. So now we're starting to get our little, our whatever you call it, our stars in there. And I can vary that too. I can go. Now here to me is the trick with stars. Now another thing I'm going to do, oh wait a minute, let me go back. I screwed up. Let's go back to our hot blue here. I want that on another layer because here's what I'm going to do. What just happened? Oh, I'll put this on another layer. And normally I'd be, if I was doing this for real, I'd be going stars, and layering and naming all these layers. So when I come back, I know what they are. There's that. I'm going to make it a little smaller. And some of these I'm going to sort of go, and then I'm going to go a little here. I'm going to go a little bigger. Because what I want to do here, I'm going to go grab some of this brighter or warmer thing. Is what I'm going to do here is I want to now, when I get this all in here, I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to go in here with my eraser. And maybe I can find a rough eraser, which would be nice. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, I can't do it with that. Let's go here. Can I do this one? Oh yeah, let's do that. So now I got this hopefully rough eraser. And I'm going to just hit some of them. See how I'm knocking some of them back? I'm not erasing them. I'm just hitting them lightly and knocking some of them back. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then some of them, if I go, well, I need to break that right there. If anything's getting too patterny, I'll break it. And then I'm going to knock some of these back. What is that? I got to have variation in this, okay? That's what I don't like about that Photoshop Jock stuff, is that it's all just like, boom, it does this. And it's like, you're not making any decisions here. And you don't even understand, you know, things are further away, things are closer, things are brighter, things are popping, you know, all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I still might come in here with my smudge brush and smudge out a few of these areas. Because sometimes, I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. I think it's the Milky Way or something. When you're out in the desert, you see that big smear in the sky. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Yeah, it's really, so I'm kind of thinking that way too. Now, here's the next thing. So I'm going to go in here now and go, I'm going to get a couple of, I made a brush yesterday. Let's see if this works. Star Good, it's called. Big. So let's go to, let's go back to this blue again. It's too big. Yeah, that's good. So this one's giving me a few little bigger stars in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just made this as a brush just like we learned last week. Or yeah, last week. It's too much. So again, I'm going to come back. Now this, again, I would do it on another layer. I'm doing it on another layer because I want to have ultra control. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go a little bigger maybe, or maybe a little smaller. And now I'm going to go with my eraser again. I'm going to erase out some of these because I don't want them all uniform. Knock some of them back. Get rid of that one. This little cluster needs to get broken up. Here. I don't want anything to get uniform. Okay, now here's a little trick that you got to learn with stars. Some of them now, if you really want to make them sparkle, get a smaller brush. I'm just going to get a little soft round here. And I get a really hot, it's almost white. Make sure it's a smaller brush. Oops. And then I'm going to go, I should have done that. Wait, I'm still on this. Hang on. That's weird. I want this one. I just want individuals now. And you go in on some of these. Another thing you can do is we could, let's see if we can do this. Just get a regular old smudge. See if I can do this. I'm gonna go. I can pull this, some of this stuff out with my smudge. See that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not gonna do it on all of them. I'm just gonna do them on a few of them, like this one. Because these are closer, I'm assuming. Want to make sure they stay not too uniform. I'm holding my shift key to keep these smudges straight. Then I'm going to go back to my brush again. Definitely hit some of these. I'm even going to hit some of these back here. What that's going to start to do is give it sort of a sparkle effect where things feel like they're, just like when you look at the sky and it sort of twinkles. It's because some things are further away, some things are closer. And then you're looking at it through the atmosphere. See that?
Yep.
Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's do another.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's go. I'm gonna go save as, because now I got it this far and I want to flatten it, but I don't want to lose all my stuff. So I'm going to go V2. That's how I always work. Save it in the same place. Go boom. Oops. And if you notice, it changed my name up here to Planet Demo V2. So now I've abandoned the first one and I'm on to my second one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I'm going to go to my planet layer. All the planet stuff I did. wherever the hell that is. I think it's here. Yeah, here and here. I actually kind of like it going darker like that. Wait, let me see. Yeah, it's kind of cool. So I'm going to flatten this. So I could go over here to my flyout menu and go merge layers. And it's going to merge the ones that I have. That's also Command E. It's going to merge the ones that I selected. Because now I want to do a couple of little things. Like, okay, so there's, I want to say there's light coming from down here, yeah?
Okay.
And I'm sure if we talked to an astronomer, they'd be appalled by how I'm handling this. They'd be like, that can't happen. It's like, well, that's too bad. But let's go. Let's just see what this does. I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to go back to my gradient again. Oops, I did. Oops, what's going on here? Gradient. There it is. Oh, I need a new layer. Now, yeah, I can try opacity. But one thing I like about overlay is that it lets me, damn it, hang on. Oh, never. Okay. I'm going to try my overlays. So I'm going to go. The thing I like about overlays is that it shows through. That's not too bad. Then I'm going to do another one and try and, actually, I'm not going to do that. Let's do this. I'm going to make a new layer. I'll just take the same color that the planet is maybe. And I'm going to really half-ass this, but I think it'll be fine. I'm just going to put like about where a core would land. And again, I'm going to see if I can go over with my overlays because I should be able to, probably multiply will work. That's not too bad. So now I'm going to take my smudge tool. Just sort of shape that out a little. And I could start to build like a little bit of a core there. Does that make sense? It'll start to turn it like a sphere. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like a little more like that. I'm going to darken it up quite a bit so I can see it while I shape it. Sort of get a darker little area in there. And I probably could go maybe some of this blue up here. It's getting lit up, but maybe that's a polar ice cap or something up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try, I always just give this a shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's not too bad. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. It's cool, but it still feels like it's landing on a warm planet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, let's just try one more thing. Let's say I go do another one, select my planet, I'm going to go in here with, I'm going to see if I can, maybe my spatter brush again. Let's try that. These are closer, let's see. You see, I'm just experimenting more or less, right? Right there. That's kind of cool. You see that?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Now we've got some nice little scattered land masses and things like that. Now, I'm going to take all this, the planets, and I'm going to flatten it. So now we have all that on one layer. Why? Because now look at it. It feels cut out. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
But if I go up here to blur, it's going to blur the whole planet, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go right here to my blur tool. Zoom in here. See how much heavy it is. It's its strength at 100. That's fine. And I'm just going to soften up this edge.
Can you also smudge it?
Oh, wait. You could, but I want it to be, oops. Uh-oh.
You just want to delete it.
Sure. No, I just need the selection for one more thing. So here's what we're also missing. I need to keep this selection. So one thing I might do is just save that selection, but I don't need to for the purposes of the demo. I'm going to make another one of these. And then I'm going to make a new layer and put it behind it. And then I think I'm going to go, let's pick this blue. I can always adjust it. I'm going to fill it. So if you look over here at my layer, oh, I didn't fill it. Now it's filled. But what I'm going to do here is go Command T for transform. I'm going to blow this up a little. Now I'm going to go up to my blur tool. And I'm going to dial in a little bit of an atmosphere around this planet.
There we go.
That's dope.
That make sense?
Yeah, it's nice.
Doesn't necessarily have to be warm. Maybe it's got a, the atmosphere usually looks cool to me. I don't know. I could be right or wrong.
A little bit less will be great.
So let's go back here. Now I can come up here because I've used up my, now I'm going to go back to my blur tool. Start blurring this edge. And yeah, I probably could do it with a smudge, depending on how much of a blur I want or a soft edge I want. See, it's starting to soften that edge. You see that? See how it's hard up here?
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Wrong tool. What's nice about the smudge tool or the blur tool is it just blurs the area you're on. And I might even take this and go, I'd have to look at some, there's no atmosphere in space or whatever, but I mean, you have to take some liberties, right? I mean, there is an atmosphere around the planet, but when you're looking at, that's why when you see images from space with the space program or whatever, something could be 1,800 miles away and it's still kind of weirdly clear. It's because there's no atmosphere. But you got to take some liberties with it, I think, or everybody thinks actually. Okay, so we softened up that edge, yeah?
Yeah.
Now let's try a couple of things. Let's go, I don't think we've talked about this. I'm going to put another layer and put streak. Oops. Now I'm going to grab this. I'm just going to grab another one of these hot oranges out of my nebula shot. Let's try this. I can always adjust it. And then I'm going to make another circle. Can always adjust it. let's try that. Okay, so if I go up here to edit, make sure I'm on my own layer. Did I name that? Yes, I didn't. If I go up here to, I don't like this color. I'm going to change this color. Hang on. Let's try that. I'm going to go up here to edit, stroke. It's going to give me this dialog box. Let's see what this looks like. That's not bad. Then I'm going to go boom. And then I'm going to tilt this. And then I'm going to come in here and probably get rid of it about, let's get an eraser. Let's say about here. So now I'm going to go, maybe that's some sort of, it could be an object, it could be a meteor, it could be a ship circling around it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's blow that up a little bit and go, get a regular brush, get a little closer. I need to make sure this is all erased too. I want to build this up. So whatever it is, that's the leading edge of it. Maybe it's a comet. I want to break up this whole thing a little bit. Then also what I'm going to do is probably take my eraser back here and thin it out. So it's getting bigger as it goes, or, you know, thicker as it goes around. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'm just dancing over this to break it up a little bit. And I'm going to screw around with it here in a second. Because I always do this thing. And back here, it starts dissipating a little bit because the trail's breaking up back there. So I might start to break it up a little bit back there. And up here, now I can go here to my hue saturation. And I can go, is that the right color? Do I want a different color? I like the blue. What do you guys think?
Matches the atmosphere.
Yeah, I also think it contrasts against the all that warmth. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to select that. I'm going to go hotter because this is the leading edge. So this is going to start being hotter. Could even color shift if I want. I'm going to go even hotter. Now it's getting white hot on that leading edge. And I could start to color shift this out a little bit. Oops. How did I just do that? What?
How'd you do that?
I don't know. Oh, I think I hit something on this stupid button. I probably haven't. I usually just disable it. And maybe back here it shifts. It cools off even more back here, maybe. You know, because it's already used up that part, correct? Mm-hmm. And then back here, I might go in here and go, that's dissipating because it's a trail, just like a contrail from a whatever you call it. Where the hell am I thinking? Where did I put my smudge?
It's the blur tool, I think.
Is it? Oh yeah, you're right. I gotta organize that. I don't know why I haven't done that. Maybe I'll break this up back here a little bit, dissipate it out. Get it a little smokier as it goes out. And then let it harden up here. Then I'd probably have to take my eraser and shape this a little bit. And then go back in and tweak it out a little more with my other tools. And I want a little hot streak in here. Then I could go, should it dip down more? Should it go bigger? But I think that's probably about right. And then I'm probably just going to get a little more of this down here. Probably go really hot down here. Hang on. This is that's a little better. See how it's starting to get really nebulous in there?
Mm-hmm.
Love that. And then I'll put those little things that go through it, those little, whatever those are called, veins that run through it. I'd shape that out a little more. Then I'd probably take a little of this. Like that. So now I got a little hot spot here that I can kind of reflect up into this thing, and I'm reflecting some cools up here, and a little hint of a core in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great, yeah.
Now it's got a little bit of volume. You know, and then I just go in and start adding whatever I need to add, or just call it a day or whatever. I'd actually add some more stuff in here. I dance up in here a little more. So now it just becomes about balance. Now the reason the smudge tools can, yeah, that's way better. The smudge tools are important to me is that they're helping me to emulate what I do in traditional paint, okay? So I was using this to grab colors from. And, you know, these little stars were kind of a nice little idea, right? Does that make sense, you guys?
Yeah.
Right.
And there might be a couple of things I need to do. I don't know what. I dissipate that trail as it goes back and thin it out a little bit. You know, stuff like that. What was it going? Let me get my, where's my, oh, there it is. Okay, so we all know what we're doing then?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put this video up as quick as I can. So all we've used here is just the tools that we've started talking about, correct?
Yep.
And I used, I created a little scatter brush, which I just made one little pinpoint, you know, and then I scattered it out. I made it so that, you know, I jittered it up so they weren't all the same size. And then I had that spatter brush. I could do the basic stars. And then I kind of came in and hit it with those bigger things and then made a couple of them flared and pop a little hot spot into a few stars here and there, and you're out. Does that make sense?
Right, yeah.
Sounds good.
So what we want to do here is start thinking about texture, brushwork, edges, and using all those things together. This is also hopefully, as we go in and talk a little more about this, it's going to really help you if you go into a painting class, a traditional painting class, because you'll already have an understanding about edges, edge control, brushwork, using because you can do all this stuff traditionally, using your brushes to create texture, like all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, go for it. And I would say try with about 11 by 17 inch sheet. I don't really care. I'm not going to give you a size, but don't do, this big or whatever. 11 by 17. So, yeah, I did one yesterday because I always just do a test run before I do this for class. Make sure all my brushes are there and all that. I did one square. I didn't like the square format at all. What were you going to say?
When is this due?
I want to go over them on Wednesday. I want to see where you're at on Wednesday. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm not expecting you to just boom, do this. This is a discussion and we'll polish it a little bit. I'll go over the things you're having problems with, all that kind of stuff, right? I'll put it up as an assignment, but that just means I want to see that you've started it and you're working on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
But it all makes sense, correct?
Yep, yep.
So you want us all to make like a planet atmosphere?
Just like this, but I don't care what color the planet is. I don't care. All that stuff's up to you. I don't care.
Violet.
So the goal here is, the goal here is we're not doing these sort of Photoshop-y things where you just go do this, then do this, and everybody ends up with the same looking thing. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
I don't want clones. I don't want clones of anybody. I want you guys to just come up with your own stuff. So if the planet's a different color, if the blah, 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 I don't care. I would pull a nebula reference to get you started quicker, just to get some of that dusty nebula stuff in there. And that's also an advantage, obviously, of Photoshop, is that you can go in and sample something and get it started, right? Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mike.
Thanks, you guys. Go create a universe.
Hey, Mike.